everyone. What's this? Consistency.
Look at that.
2 episodes in less than a 6-month gap. Doing all right.
That's a terrible bar. That is a terrible bar.
For us, that's progress, though. What's this, episode 5?
I think so.
Season 2?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, so we said last time we were going to do more of just us 3 so we can get more episodes out, and look at that. We're getting more episodes out, so there you go. So, yeah, I think as well last time we said we were going to kind of take some topics from you, the Amen Brethren. That's the name, isn't it? For the crew. Yeah. So, yeah, some of you sent some great questions in, so we are going to try and base the episode around that today, I think. Spoiler, we were supposed to have a special guest today, but he's tired, so he didn't come.
Terrible excuse, really,
yeah,
isn't it?
but it's fair. He works hard.
He does.
He works hard. But yeah, before we dive in, how's everyone doing? I mean, I've seen you quite a lot recently, Jack.
I saw you yesterday.
I saw you yesterday. We filmed some content at an empty club.
How was that?
Content. I mean,
It's quite funny, wasn't it?
it's funny because we're all there, but like you're just standing still whilst the camera just zooms around you for like half an hour. So
You're not doing the old, here's the venue,
Jack actually did that bit.
Of course he did.
We just had to stand still.
Just coerced me into doing stuff.
Yeah.
Dance.
Yeah, so we made it fun. But yeah, the event's going to be sick. Shogun Halloween, 27th of October. I don't know why I'm giving promo. They're not paying me. Well, they are paying me actually, aren't they? It's DJ fee, not a promo fee. But yeah, we'll see you down there. So I've seen you recently. How are you doing, Rich?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good chat.
Same old mate.
Yeah, fair. How was Warehouse Project? Because is that the first time you played Warehouse Project?
It was the first time I played
Yeah,
Warehouse
how was that,
Project.
mate? I was well jealous that I couldn't be there.
Yeah, do you know what? It was like iconic and like epic on some whole other level. Like, you know, it's got to be the largest warehouse drum and bass event in the UK, surely. Like,
Probably.
Someone could correct me if I'm wrong.
7,000 people in that main room, I think. That's
Yeah,
mad.
I mean, I haven't played to a crowd that big in a long time.
Yeah.
Like, it reminded me of like Wilco days, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was wicked, obviously, to do it with Harry. Like, it was fun. But yeah, it did sort of. It was interesting because I was thinking about what we were talking about last time on the podcast, and it kind of brings that whole sort of argument we won't go back into context about like smaller raves, intimacy, vibes, and just, you know, seeming like a crowd's just there because it's like a huge lineup and it's just like there to like. It's almost like a numbers game, or I don't know, man. It's interesting. Like
not everyone in the crowd's going to be there for every act, basically.
Honestly, it was the standard jump up stuff that we said, and we felt like, you know, it was wicked and it popped off at times, but it just wasn't. You know, if you're thinking like 6,000 people in a room, like if you went back to a slamming vinyl rave in like '98 with that many people in a rave, it's popping off.
Yeah.
Like in comparison,
would there have been that many people going to it?
I don't know what Sanctuary was. Not that many people at a rave collectively. Well, definitely not.
This is the thing, though, right? So I had a very similar thought about this because someone was whinging on Instagram on someone's
I think
post.
I see you responded to that. Yeah.
No, not that one. I'm not talking about that person.
Sorry, that person.
About. No, sorry, that person. But no, I'm going to say.
I'm not even sure I know.
I'm going to say what I'm going to say.
I'm going to
say what I say. But someone was whinging about how nobody dances in raves anymore, and I had spent because I wasn't there because I had gone away to go visit the in-laws away, and I had sat there and gone through all of the stories, everything we'd been tagged in, just being like, oh man, it looked so good. I wish I was there. And I'm seeing the videos from the perspective of the punters in the crowd, and everyone's moving and grooving throughout that set. And it did kind of a little bit, was just like, why is this stereo? It is a shit stereotype. I think I've got to say it. I think that there is a lot of people that are moving in the rave.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason why it feels like there isn't is because there is more and more and more people than ever before going to these raves.
Also,
so there's going to be a lot of people that, for the most part, they're not feeling some of the tunes. It's not necessarily the thing they're into, but they are there for the rave. They're not going to be there forever, but our job is to make sure that the people that will be there, a chunk of those people are there 5 years down the line. Do you know what I mean?
Honestly, there's so many positives because the sheer amount of people just being into the music and wanting to come to a D&B rave is a beautiful thing. Let's not get it twisted.
Oh, no,
I'm
that
not
wasn't a
like
dig at
bashing
you
it
at all.
in that context, but it's like it's interesting speaking to like, you know, artists backstage and stuff and getting like a similar vibe from and realistically this is probably more the point, is that the more headsy artists that have been booked like to, you know, give a bit of diversity to the like the musicality of the lineup, I think that actually, you know, it is a beautiful thing. But I guess they're the people that notice it maybe not popping off as much as Headaches, Boo, and, you know, certain other acts and stuff. Now, ours was pretty vibes. I think beforehand there was like, you know, I don't know, it like fluctuates, doesn't it? It was like up and down throughout the night. But I guess it's interesting to see like that many people in a dance, like no matter which way you look at it, it was like unreal, and it's like really like beautiful bucket list tick for myself, and I really enjoyed it. And at times it was popping off. I guess it's just that point of it's more sporadic in the dance, I think you find, and it's like it's popping off for tunes. And,
it's less consistent.
Yeah,
I kind of get what you mean there.
And then there's like cameras that go up for like certain points, and it's like it's all just a little bit like more like patchy. It's just a bit patchier like throughout the rave, and like there's nothing necessarily even wrong with that. It was just, that's my observation. I thought it led on quite nicely from last time, because that's the biggest rave I've done in absolutely ages, and it was sick to be on that stage jumping around having a sick time with my mate. I really enjoyed it. But I guess, you know, it's just good to give all the you know, the full perspective of the experience. And it's like,
of course,
I spoke to a lot of people who were like, but give me like Phonox with 400 people any day of the week. Do you know what I mean? It's like one of those ones. But
no, you're not wrong, man. Like smaller places are way more intimate, aren't they? And they come with a totally different energy. Like you can play an entire set of whatever the hell you want at a place like Phonox, and we know that from our own experience. We've done that, and it can pop off for the whole 60-minute set, can't it?
Yeah.
I think intimacy is actually, this is what I was thinking on the way here, is the word that, because like last time I said the word journey too much, and I'll just palm myself off for that because it's a bit cringe, but it's like the intimacy is actually the key. It's the culture, the community, the intimacy. Those are the things that I think, you know, like anyone listening to this that's only really been to them big raves, please go to like a headsy rave, man, and get involved in that community, meet some cool people, and just experience the dance, because honestly, it's just a totally different experience and they're both really good in their own right, but they both need to be appreciated. And if you haven't done that yet, you will find that you really enjoy it. And it's not all about just bangers. It's about, you know, a musicality like throughout someone's set, and them like, you know, showing you things. It's not, you don't have to just play like sets of bangers, you know, like you guys don't. Like you do throw the curveballs in.
It's all bangers now, mate.
But I mean, I think
that's not true.
We take for granted something that we, all three of us, had when we first started going raving, and that was a free regular night where you could see all manner of different DJs from drum and bass, and you didn't have to like sacrifice that night out because of your budget or whatever in order to go and witness it. And that was Soul in Motion. And I think as much as that isn't something that we have readily available to people in London anymore, something like Shogun Sessions kind of fills that void. Yeah. But it's going to a small place where there's only going to be 100 other people, and you're not necessarily sure who's going to be on the lineup, but it's also it's who's getting asked to play those events. They are very eclectic, and they kind of cover all breadths and styles of the genre.
So I mean, it's a really nice segue into the first what's the word? Audience participation question. That's a bit wordy. That
who gets the award?
So
for...
Connor Collins, he actually did message saying the post Halogenics made about small promoters would be a good topic, and basically that's what we're talking about now, right? So Lawrence is obviously starting that night with that whole ethos of kind of small, intimate, no phones, just like be there for the music and kind of be there for the whole night and enjoy it from start to finish type thing. And we've spoken about it to death, so I don't want to labour the point too much, but that in an ideal world, that is what we'd be doing all the time. Yeah. But then there's also Cos he lives is a thing, right? Cost of living crisis is a thing. I understand why small promoters aren't taking that risk.
But I think we were in a similar boat when we started going around. We did have Soul in Motion, so there was that option to go out and go raving for free. But there were like huge hospitality and Ram nights and things like that.
Yeah, but those are the ones that make money, right? That's what I'm saying. So these smaller nights now.
But we would still go to those small nights. We would turn down the occasional big one to go to two smaller ones and go and see a varied lineup and go get a little bit more of a taste from elsewhere. Yeah. And it's the only way these promoters can put on those nights is if people go, yeah, do you know what? I'm not always going to go for the biggest, loudest lineup. I want to go and experience what more this music has to offer, because everybody says they know what drum and bass has to offer. And then you go to a Headsy night or a small independent label night and you go and hear bangers you've never heard before in your life and you won't regret it. It's just, but promoters can't take those risks unless people show the willingness to go, innit? But then you can't show the willingness to go unless the promoters are taking the risks.
So when nights do pop up, like Lawrence's night,
people should go. Yeah, they have to go.
Isn't it? 100%.
Yeah, and it's not. But it's also not just down to ticket buyers. It's like no one should be messaging Lawrence for guest list.
Yeah, and also the other thing as well
fork up your cash and go and support.
I was going to say the other thing, which was what Lawrence has done, is kind of upfront define the ethos and like kind of really curate and design a night to be had. That's the other thing. I think promoters can't be lazy with this stuff and just think, oh, if I put these 3 DJs on in this 400 cap club, it's going to sell out, because ultimately now everything's like, not just in music, everything's about that consumer experience, right? So like think about like in fashion, for example, the reason the high streets have died is because obviously you can get the same products online cheaper. But when you go to a designer, like a brand that you really like, so for example, I love Aim Leon Dore, that you go to their shop in Soho and there's like a fucking Porsche in the middle of the shop, and it's like you go in there and it just feels sick, and it's like you just go partially to buy clothes but also for the kind of experience. And it's that just like consumer experience, that retail experience thing kind of carries through to this as well. Like people need to feel like they're going to get an experience they can't get anywhere else if they go to this thing. So that's a big part of it as well, is what I'd say. Not that I've ever been a promoter, I know what I'm talking about, but from a consumer point of view, that's what I think is probably appealing. So
it's still a valid point. Like,
oh yeah, I know what I'm talking about. I've been humble.
I think to add on to this as well, I would love to see, because it made me think. Like, I've always like missed the days of like independent promoters putting on a night that includes DJs from a multitude of labels. Right? I think we touched on this before, but at the moment it's so risky to do. And actually, what it made me realise is what these bigger nights are actually doing is they are actually doing that because they're basically bigger than any label. Like these UKFs, these Worried About Henrys, you know, Warehouse, like DMV also, like all them. It's like then
for the most part.
I know you get similar. Like I remember there was a period where, like, no disrespect to UKF, but like I would look at all their lineups and it'd be like the same people every single time, basically, because they knew what was going to sell, right? And
I still think that's true to a certain degree.
Definitely, and I think that could also, you should easily say the same about every other big promoter that's out there at the moment. I think they all go through waves though, don't they?
But it's basically like the 3 headliners are the same, and then everyone else can be kind of rotated a little bit. It's kind of the form
with those brands for sure. So what I was going to say is, what I would love to see is that come back in the smaller realms, because you get label nights obviously, and that's all well and good, but I just miss like seeing like Skeptical, and then like, you know, Jube, like Halogenics, like all these people from like different labels on the same lineup that are essentially making like similar music that's a similar vibe, so it's cohesive and it works. But it's not like a label night. Like, I'm longing for that hard, and if I had the money, I'd be doing my colony thing at the moment, but I just don't. Like,
but I think one of the big kickers for that though is that as much as a lot of people love tunes from those guys, the multitude of ticket buyers are of a younger generation where they're gonna in mass go to the events with other artists on the bill and from other promoters. They're going to go to those larger scale events that have got the louder, more energetic, more sort of wild and fun DJs. Don't get me wrong, I think there's plenty of people that like the headsy stuff, but I think when the idea of going out and going raving, I think for this generation is just about going out and just having a
I don't know how true that is,
like a big blowout.
I don't know how true that is though, because Critical, I'm pretty sure, sold out Printworks. So
that
I don't know how true that actually is. I think, well, it is true, but another thing is also the venue itself.
Yeah,
if the venue's sick, people will just go to it because it's a sick venue.
Yeah.
The reason Fabric's been at the top of every Google best club in London for the last 20 years. It's because it's the club, right? And the sound system.
Yeah.
Like, people will go for that as well. So, like, there's so many factors, but also there's less venues now, so it gets more tricky.
Also true, yeah.
There's a lot of risk as well, like you said
Yeah.
before. The risk is the problem. Like, you promote smaller, like, or mid-level promoters, it's like, am I going to literally put everything on the line to just get blown out of the water by a D&B All-Stars night that pops up on the same date as my night?
Yeah, yes.
It's tough, but I do think, like you said, it will evolve. Halogenics is doing it. There'll be more people that will do it.
Yeah, Ash is doing it as well.
The youth will seep into the underground, as what always happens. And at the moment, there's so much youth that is on it. It's a matter of time before this. Let's put the positive spin.
Yeah.
Let's hope. 3-4 years time, we're looking at a really, really healthy underground scene
100%.
alongside. And I'm not saying it's not at the moment, but just maybe more healthy than it is currently.
I'm in this huge D&B group. It's the overview group chat, basically. It changes name every week. I think Pete basically changes the name based on the topic of conversation. But I put that same screenshot of the story that we put up earlier into that group as well, just to see what people had asked. Someone basically asked about the role. What role do you think majors are playing in D&B, and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing? And I think that kind of ties into this whole big nights, that conversation.
Big entities getting involved in drum and bass.
Yeah,
big business.
What do we think?
It's an interesting one, because I think for the artists this time round where it's happening, because it does happen. It has been happening slowly and gradually in the background. Majors have been trying to get involved and investing in artists for a long, long time. It kind of seems to have these big waves where every few years it's more than just one or two people. But what I think is interesting about it this time is there's a lot of artists.
It was Degs, by the way. Degs asked the question.
Hello, Degs. I think there's a lot of people that are seemingly cropping up out of nowhere from our perspective.
As in artists who have kind of
blown
up overnight.
No, not necessarily blown up overnight, but they haven't been around, signed to an indie label and put out two albums, for example, and been around on the circuit for 8 years. It's artists that have been grafting and producing and writing maybe different genres of music, or have just been kind of doing it and not releasing anything because they weren't getting any look-in from any indie labels, and then suddenly they're getting snapped up. They're almost like sidestepping the process of...
It's an interesting point, that, actually.
You know what I mean?
Because it kind of puts the question in two ways. Like, obviously, the majors have seen the rise of electronic music over the last... I mean, it goes in cycles, right? We always say this. But, like, at the moment, electronic music is massive again. It's all in the charts.
Yeah.
The majors are going to do what majors are going to do and take advantage of that opportunity, right, and try and cash in. This has happened before, but I guess before, like, you were basically just saying, like... in D&B, for example, like Hospital or Ram or Shogun or Critical or whatever, these kind of big labels within drum and bass kind of still had first dibs on these new artists. So is the question about how these labels basically behave and how they kind of approach things, is it a problem with them rather than a problem with the majors, is what I'm basically saying?
I think it might be a problem with the formats, because I think the reason why 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago you kind of had that last, like, majors getting involved in drum and bass with artists like Wilkinson and Subfocus and stuff
Fresh,
like that. And, Fresh and Chase and Status. They were all artists that had put out 1 or 2 albums and seen success with an album. And that's what made the majors go, all right, that's a serious artist there, and they've had serious success. We can seriously get behind them. I think now it's not about having to put out an album. So you don't need an indie label's help to finance an album and release it. You can get the attention of majors with just a single track, because that can blow up on social media in the same way an album used to blow up. And kind of go, because it was like, there were the occasional tune, but I think albums, the story of an album spread a lot quicker and wider than the story of a single track from an artist.
Also,
so when someone would say to me, oh, you've got to go and check out this new tune by someone, I'd be like, oh yeah, I might remember to go and check that out. But when someone goes to go check out this new album from someone, I think the idea of how much music that was... Yeah, but
it's that
then,
shortened attention span. I can see where this conversation is going. To
people
be fair.
still love hearing albums.
I don't know how true that is.
If it's a good album, though, man, would you really?
Yeah. Oh, he has to be. The guy's written like 19 albums already. I get it.
But like, would you? If would you be more excited to hear that an artist has 14 new songs out today or one new song out? Providing they're all good songs.
I'm going to know that 12 of them are going to be trash. So.
But then that's the other problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like
when Drake releases an album, I don't care because I know his biggest singles already came out. Like if I'm looking at if I'm being really kind of like brutal.
Do you think about that in D&B though? Is that
yeah, I don't necessarily. Depends on the artist,
it,
but I don't necessarily want to hear a whole album from a lot of people, and not just in drum and bass, just in general. Like, unfortunately,
do you reckon like the 8-track could be the way forward?
The Spotify algorithm and TikTok and all these things dictate that kind of short form content is what sells and what grabs attention. So I understand why albums are no longer the kind of make or break for your career. Me personally, we've had this conversation several times. As an artist, personally, I wanted to write an album because it was like a rite of passage, kind of milestone personally.
But also what that does in terms of a contribution back to the drum and bass scene.
Yeah, and also that as well.
So in that regard, like even though the singles are easier to market, we are all still, so many people are still insisting on writing EPs and albums because they know that delivering a 14-track album where, all right, you're going to get 4 or 5 bangers, they will have all come out as singles. But then there's going to be those left field tunes that make the cut on the album or the EP that creatively resonate with people, and it helps sculpt that underground, doesn't it?
What we're talking about right now is artistic merit versus commercial appeal.
Yeah,
and that's really two ends of the spectrum. Well, they don't have to be. They don't have to be the two ends of the spectrum, but at points they are diametrically opposed, right? In terms of which one do you go for?
In theory, yeah.
In theory, unless there's obviously those artists that transcend that. You know, you think of your Kendrick Lamar's and that they literally have commercial appeal by being so artistically like unique and special or whatever. In dance music, less of that, I would say, apart from like your maybe
noisier.
Well,
like, I think when you come to like,
I'm thinking about dance music as a whole though.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking about like the big time, No,
you're right. Yeah, it doesn't really go that way, does it?
It doesn't really go that way a whole lot. And maybe I don't know why that is, but yeah, I think it's a different conversation. Sorry, Rich, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I can't remember now, mate.
Good. I'm glad you're here for this podcast.
Well, I mean, just going back to Deggs' original question, is majors being involved in drum and bass a good or bad thing? I think if they're getting involved with artists that care about the underground and the music, then I think as long as those artists aren't allowing themselves to be molded and shifted by the majors, and they're merely being financed by the majors and allows them to do bigger, better things, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And if you're an artist that just wants to write dribble and the majors want to release that and it's going to stream well, then again, I don't care because it's just going to bring more people potentially into writing good music.
Do you know what I think? I think it depends on your approach. Like personally, I think if you write a listening piece like you did and what like I aim to do and what you do with your album, I think there's definitely like a place for that. Yeah. But I do think there are albums released in dance music that are actually a bit conflicted and probably could just be like 2 or 3 EPs.
Yeah.
And I think that's the that's what I'd like to distinguish is I think if you make an album as a listening piece, then it's something I would definitely want to listen to front to back. And I don't care what kind of artist you are, what genre of music, if someone recommends it to me or I hear about it through the grapevine, I will go and I will listen. And if I'm not into the track, you know, like, let's be real, like maybe like after like 30 seconds, a minute or whatever, maybe I might be like, oh, F this one off and then move on. But I would still try and listen to it the whole way through. And there are lots of albums that I still do, maybe with like a couple of skips. Predominantly, I think, you know, use hip hop as an example. I think that's a good example because with lyrical content, there's always more of a story to like cling on to. So there's something that's going to keep people more engaged. Whereas if you're just doing a drum and bass album of like, you know, deep underground tunes, it's going to be harder to keep someone's engagement with that if you haven't got like vocalists and featured artists.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, I think there's definitely still a place for it.
I think it's an interesting point you make though. I think albums now, in order to do well, they have to be that coherent. Like, I think if you're an artist who just wants to release loads of music, an album used to be an option and people would buy it, but now it's just like, just release EPs and singles, man.
It would be a waste of your time.
Yeah.
Really.
The other thing I was going to say was I don't think we can rely on majors to foster the underground at all. All the artists who want to go to majors, I don't think they can be relied on to foster the underground. I actually think it needs to be, well, in an ideal world, I had this idea ages ago, like kind of a bit like, you know, with football, like big clubs are demanded by the FA to put money back into grassroots.
Yeah.
If we had something like that in place, that'd be amazing, but obviously that's not going to happen. So really the underground has to be fostered. There has to be those soldiers of the scene that basically will just remain underground and kind of try and grow it and maintain it like almost like a sort of fault, and I think unfortunately that puts a lot of pressure on those people and those promoters or whatever. But I just don't think you can rely on a major to do anything for the underground.
What was your point going to be about, like the sort of independent drum and bass labels? Because you sort of said, is it more like their responsibility? So that interestingly,
this is it. Like, I think.
Do you think they have smaller contracts, like shorter contracts of artists, like helping like take people to the top rather than try and keep people? Is that kind of the angle you were going for?
Where I was going with that, and it's going to sound like I'm calling people out, and I guess I kind of am in a way, but I'm not.
You want more internet beef?
No one in particular.
At Jon GLXY Twitter.
Yeah, basically. If you want to have a conversation, come at me. Like, I'll sit down and chat with you about this. But like, small labels need to stop trying to act like big labels. Is what I was going to say, basically.
Yep.
Like, and we're seeing it now. Like even like we're on Shogun, right? And I feel like even with Shogun, what they've done is basically adapt to this new environment of, they're not going to sign artists with 4 album deals or 3 album deals or whatever. They're going to foster artists they believe in, who have a sound, and they'll kind of work with them however they want to be worked with, which is one thing I can say positively for a label in that position like Shogun. Ultimately, now Shogun isn't going to be the way, well, present company excluded, Shogun isn't going to be the way that most people get to the very, very top. It's going to be the route you were talking about in terms of like having a following on TikTok or Instagram, having a couple big tunes, and then a major snapping you up, basically. Like,
but then for the benefit of artists, that I think that puts a lot of control back in their own hands.
It does.
I think it means that if you're out there and you're writing legitimate underground drum and bass and you want to plug it and you want to promote it, you can now. You don't have... You're still competing with these labels, but in terms of the TikTok feed, you're not a small fish in a big pond. Like you have just a bigger chance to have that tune heard as like Shogun's latest post, or Hospitals, or Ram Records, or UKF. Do you know what I mean?
This is what I'm saying. Like,
All-Stars.
in terms of getting promotion, those middle ground labels, essentially, with respect, aren't needed. But what the role they do have to play is that kind of youth academy, if you like, if we're going to go back to the football analogy, of like plucking out those artists and develop, because majors aren't going to do artist development, right?
Yep.
They're going to do you're hot, let's capitalize on your hotness right now.
Yeah. Oh, and then the moment you're not, it's like
you're
out
shelved.
the door.
You're shelved. Whereas these Shoguns, Hospitals, whatever,
they'll work with
they've got
you.
an opportunity to develop artists. And those artists then may go on to do, like, Hospital done it loads, right? Next guy went and moved to LA and signed to a major, like, but that's because he worked with a label for years and kind of
built the foundation.
Yeah. So that's still a role to play, basically, is what I'm saying. I think it's just playing the right role.
A label's job to me now, when it comes to artist development, should simply be essentially offering label like distribution services, so getting your music out onto stores, and then essentially acting like management, so helping with you to build a long-term plan or to release your music however you see fit, and help you do it to the best of your ability and help organize you. And like that's what Shogun do, and that's for the most part that's what a lot of these other labels do. But the majors won't.
I think that's the thing, that when you're talking about like getting snapped up, there's that incites a lot of fear into me for the youth of today coming through producing, because it's like you can end up in a very sticky situation signing something you have no experience
of
that someone would probably advise you not to sign. There's that like excitement factor that will kind of gas you up to the point where you'll be like, oh my god, this is something I've got to do. And actually I do worry with this generation at the moment about the lack of foundation, and I think that's something we touched on before. And I think
instant gratification, right?
And honestly, I think there's a lot to be said. Like at the moment, for a lot of people who have built foundation in this game, they're having probably a tough time being like, oh wow, like no one's really like looking after me or whatnot. But when this all comes crashing down,
they'll have
the people that have been grafting for time and just been here because they love the music and didn't take that fast route, they'll still be there. And I'd like to again positively feel like they'll get their just rewards in the long run. Fingers crossed.
At the same time, if you are a 20-year-old producer who's had a big tune go big on TikTok and X label offers you big P's, I'm kind of inclined to say take the money, man.
Yeah.
At the same time, you know what I mean? Like,
but also, like, I think it's really, really key, because at some point,
the strategy is important. Is what
we've all had to do this, right? At some point, right? But we've all had to sign a contract with somebody at some point, right?
Yeah.
So never sign anything without getting a lawyer to look at it.
Of
like,
course.
it cannot be stressed enough, because there's so many people that I've spoken to in the last 3-4 years that have done that and have just been royally like bent over.
Yeah.
It's a cost, but like if those kinds of opportunities are being put in front of you, then it's a cost that you should swallow.
We've also, by the way, as well,
to make sure you don't get
to put another positive spin on it. We have also seen that whole go straight to a major after being independent thing work really well, like Neo Archives, for example.
Exactly.
But I will say Neo Archives creatively and like brand, quote unquote, she's always had that vision and that kind of aesthetic and that sound before the majors were involved. And actually where it's worked well for her is the majors kind of just let her do her thing a little bit. Like the Neo Archives I'm seeing now versus the Neo Archives I saw when she first kind of made an impact on the scene. It feels like the same person, right? It There's a bigger audience, and she's developed as a performer and all that stuff. So it can work well.
Yeah.
Where I worry about it a little bit is if you're kind of, and this isn't a criticism, but it's going to sound like a criticism again. If you're making music that is fairly generic, or you don't really have like a message or like an approach or a brand or whatever, but one song blew up, then I worry about the kind of long-term sustainability of that, because it's like you need to then quickly figure out what the strategy is long-term. Yeah. And that's where the good majors will have a plan, but some will just be like, do that song 10 more times, basically, because it did well. So yeah, swings and roundabouts, I think, man.
Agreed.
Cool. We're knocking these off, aren't we, boys? Jesus. All right. Let's do this every episode. So, yeah, shout out Enter DMB. It's Liam, right? Liam's his name, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he sent a couple, actually. I won't read the whole message. He sent a really nice message about the podcast. Big up Liam. First thing he was asking about is about AI, which is obviously a very hot topic, and I'm on both sides of it at the moment from my day job point of view as well, which is interesting. So he said... the role of AI in music. Personally, he dislikes a lot of AI, especially if used to replace talent. Would love to hear your perspectives as producers and MCs on this, and if you think there is any real benefits to it. I will go first on this one just to say, well, I can't talk about what I'm actually working on at my new job, but there's going to be a lot of AI involved. Yep. And I'm the one defining what the AI should do. So I'm in a really interesting position here as both someone who's going to push AI onto the music world and also someone who could potentially be
restricted to an extent.
No, not restriction. Like it's not some Sarah Connor thing, like, some Terminator thing. Like, more like me as an artist, I could be affected. Well, I'll say two things. I think from a creative perspective, I think AI is quite scary. Right? Yeah. I think in certain job roles, and I speak to people about this all the time. I think me and Jack GLXY talk about this a lot. Certain roles, like, so for example, like photo retouchers and stuff like that, right? So Photoshop, the product, already has like a color grading AI and like retouching AI that can basically do the job of someone pretty well with a touch of a button. So, there are definitely roles at risk within creative industries. And, we've seen technology development is exponential. It's not linear. So, what was good now will be like 4 times as good in a year rather than like twice as good, for example. So it won't be long before an AI could write a Boo tune or a Pola and Bryson tune. Maybe not a Pola and Bryson tune because Harry's better than AI, I think.
Thanks.
Yeah, Harry and Jack are better than AI. I haven't had a dig at you in a long time, and I was saving.
I was with you last night. Don't chat shit, bro.
That's true. I just thought, you know what?
A whole evening of just slagging me off.
I haven't cussed Jack in ages.
Shit.
Basically, what I'm saying is we're all kind of at risk in a bit. I think some roles and creative industries are at risk more than others. And like I said, I think the kind of visual stuff.
I feel like design,
that's the first thing they really tackle. Like Mid-Journey and all these things are already doing pretty mad stuff.
I think.
Well, I haven't finished yet. But now go on.
I was just going to fucking butt in because you slagged me off.
Go on.
Bitch.
He didn't really. He just threw a bit of shade. More shade than like slagging you off.
The visual stuff and the graphic design and stuff like that, I think there's no denying that is going to be very damaging. I think with the music side of things, in regards to making music, I think it's with AI samples and all that sort of stuff, and that's going to make things a little bit easier. It's going to make it more accessible for people. So in terms, it's just a tool, the way I see it. It's going to be like the internet. It will expand and evolve, and it will get better and better, and it will get better at being a tool, but it starts as simply a tool, right? People, I think when this new technology comes around, there is a fear of replacement, but I think it's, if you embrace it, the skill set that you've got, all it does is it kind of heightens your ability and potentially the speed or the quality of work that you can put out, right?
Yeah.
And so in that regard, I would say that the 15 plus years of experience of being a music producer that I've got, for example, when these tools come around, I don't believe that someone's going to be able to just do what me and Harry do. All they'll be able to do is replicate or emulate what we're already doing. But we will. What it's going to have to force us to do, but it will make life easier to do, is to adapt and evolve and change and try new things and keep ahead of the curve, which we feel pressure to do. Not pressure, but we feel obliged to do every time we get in the studio to write a tune. We feel like we've got to try something different and new.
There's a few. So you go first.
I've listened to so many podcasts on this recently, like just because I'm constantly like working my hands, so it's just like podcasts like Lex Friedman, like TED Talks, and I feel like the underlying issue, like to not ramble on about it, that I've got from the whole thing is that AI is something that humans need to learn to use and collaborate with, and that relationship will flourish before AI takes over. Like, we're going to have a very significant period of time. Most people involved in the industry believe that it's not even going to involve people losing their jobs first off. It's like, what you need to do is you need to get on board, find a way of utilizing AI to make you better at your job, like you were just saying. And that's actually the way to get around it. And the people that evolve with AI will be the ones that remain at the top of their games, and the ones that sort of fear it and shy away from it will be the ones that end up losing out. So it's kind of like, you got to face it. Most like people who are like professionals in this field, I'm not claiming to be, I'm just literally just listening to podcasts. I barely know anything about AI. Like I did go on Chat GPT and ask it to write a philosophical wet lyric for me, and it came with a so honestly, I kind of gave a brief. I wrote down what I would like describe my lyrics as, and I was like, write me a song like this, like philosophical, like with like political like connotations, like, you know, only not a major description. And I got like back like I think it was like a 4-verse tune with like a chorus and a bridge, and I was like, right, like it's not great. Obviously, you know, you could then go back in and maybe edit it and whatnot.
Yeah, we can prompt it.
But
more,
I just wanted to see, like, when it came out, I was just like, you know, ChatGPT. I haven't really got that involved with it, but I just thought it'd be interesting to like have a look and see what it can do. And what it did was, you know, at first you're like, okay, this is quite scary, but now I'm like, my next album, you know, hold tight AI.
I think it's key that you did that.
No, I'm joking.
I think it's key that you did that though, because I think it's a generational thing, right? So if you think about our parents' generation, the internet came around when they were like out in the working world, and they felt at first like they didn't need to learn how to use this. It wasn't for them, it wasn't necessary, it wasn't going to impact or change how they did their job. 25 years down the line, it is an integral part of everything they do at work and everything they do in their daily lives, right? But they feel like they are 10 steps behind their kids because the kids grew up with it and they're early adopters of the technology,
natives,
right?
Digital natives.
But I think like my 11 and 10-year-old nieces will probably have a much, much greater understanding and grasp of AI and how to use it in everyday life in 10 years' time than I will. And they would have gone out, they would have been learning and preparing to go out into the working world with AI at their side and already understanding how they'd use it and how it would benefit them. Whereas I'm kind of playing catch up almost. And I think I saw a TikTok where it was an excerpt from a podcast, and the dude was like, the best tip I can give people about AI is go and ask AI how AI can help them do their job. Just go and ask ChatGPT, how can you help me in this career, in this industry, doing what I do with this work style or lifestyle or whatever? How can you benefit me? And it'll piss and answer the question for you. It will tell you how it can help you.
I think though, in a music context, the thing I was going to say was, I think what you kind of hit the nail on the head with the whole, like, it's going to be used to kind of super power your workflow.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, so I think, although I agree with that, there are also use cases where AI can just replace people. For example, sync, which I think is a big one. So like writing music for TV and film.
Yep.
At the moment, that's an industry that's super competitive already, and it pays big money.
Which means it's expensive for companies.
It's expensive. So if at the point in which, and it doesn't have to thing about sync necessarily doesn't necessarily have to have like creative flair. It just has to fit a brief.
Yeah.
I'm maybe downplaying it. There is obviously a lot of skill that goes into it. I'm not saying there isn't, but like in terms of.
But is it the most important thing?
Well, yeah. So basically, like if a TV studio or a film studio can get what they want in their head from AI, and it costs them server costs versus paying 30 grand to XYZ over there, they're going to do it. Basically,
of course they will. Yeah.
So that is the kind of, that's the flip side. But as a producer, there's Meta have got a audio text to text to audio model where you can basically type in generate me this sound, and again it's all right. Like I put in like what did I do the other day? I typed in like glitchy synth sounds, because obviously that's half of our music is glitchy synths, and it kind of gave me some cool stuff, man. And like so that for me is like, okay, that's being creative with AI, right? Because it's like I'm gonna have a sample that's only been generated for me, and then I'm gonna manipulate that sample in Ableton and make it sound even more different. And for me, that's like just saved me 5 hours of pissing around on my hardware synth trying to make a sound.
Yeah.
But then
would you have rather had the 5 hours pissing around on the synth?
No, because I have a full-time job and a life. And I don't want to just sit there all the time necessarily. Don't get me wrong.
You don't want to noodle.
There is joy in noodling, but also we're all busy people, and sometimes unlocking that first blocker to creativity is the hardest bit as a musician.
Well, so in that regard, you've just proven that it's not going to replace the tools you've got.
No,
it's just it can sit from time to time.
And for what I'm doing in my day job, we're essentially looking at how these sorts of things can help newcomer music makers, because ultimately, as a newcomer, you don't know anything about making music, and a lot of it as well is not just like generating sounds. It's like if you've got a sample library, using AI to basically say, okay, cool, I like this sample. Can you search through my other 20,000 samples and find me something that sounds like that sample? Like, there's loads of little things that it can do to, like, basically just help people make music, which ultimately is the goal, right? Music should be democratized. So, yeah, but also the last point I was going to say is it kind of also then generates a challenge for music makers, because the more people that can make music, the more music there will be. But then for you to kind of stand out, it obviously just means that there's going to be more graft and more kind of honing of your skills and kind of, it'll push you, hopefully, to make better music. So I guess my stance is kind of neutral, because I'm kind of on, like I said, I'm on both sides of it, and I see the benefits and the flaws. But me as a creator, though, mainly, I'm excited by a lot of the things it can do. But I will never ask it to write me a whole song, because that's like I'm losing the point of doing what I do.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
I think there's also sorry, go on, Rich.
Obviously, I was like joking with what I said, but like I feel the one thing. It's interesting what you said about obviously like making music for sync and stuff, because a lot of producers rely on that, right?
Yeah.
And, do a bunch of other like production that probably a lot of our listeners maybe don't even know that that's like an avenue, but like everyone's got to make money. And if you're a really good producer, ultimately you're going to get picked up by film, TV, all these other industries, and you can make money. And I do think that is something I 100% agree with you is going to be more at risk, because you can brief that.
Yeah.
Then you can go more in on the brief, and you can just keep telling it to evolve it. And it actually probably might even be more efficient, like quickly, because you're not making something that's complex or maybe has as much like romance as if you're an artist. And I think the flip of that is I do think,
and we're obviously, again, just a caveat that we're not talking about like Hans Zimmer making music for Interstellar or whatever. We're talking about like a Purcell advert.
It's because of his personality.
These are jingle.
100%.
That's what we're talking about.
It's not only the skill and ability that Hans Zimmer brings to that, but there's also there's the person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's like somebody who can promote that.
Yeah.
And there's someone that you can be a fan of. And I think that's another thing that helps protects musicians in that regard, that
the brand, basically.
There are artists and like graphic designers and things like that, and like visual artists that will be impacted by AI, but then there will be ones that have got like more of a brand image and identity 100%. That they will be affected by this less. And I think the same goes for music.
So what I was going to say is, from the artist perspective, I think what the positive thing is, and I hope this carries on for many, many years to come, is that human connection is really what like makes art like such a beautiful thing on this planet
as well,
all of that like merged in. It's like that's any of the arts, it's all about like human connection and like feeling close to someone. And like it's funny because listening to that Lex Friedman thing, like he's obviously like
he's a G, by the way.
He's a G, but he's a very interesting cat, because he's like, if he had an AI, like say you were an AI, he'd be like, I don't see that as any different from like a human. Basically, he's like, I'm willing to connect with this AI. Like he's on some mad Spectrum vibe with it, like, that I personally can't get down with. But it's interesting to see. But I think he is in the minority currently. I don't know what age he's at, but and obviously, I think as time goes on, because of similar to what Jack said, it's like these kids are going to get more and more used to it. So it's going to be like normalized as we like pass throughout history.
Yeah.
But I think at the moment, and for a good few more years, I truly hope that us as a human race, we long for connection. We long to like vibrate with people, and like that is fundamentally what as artists we're doing. Like,
yeah. I used to have this idea as well that like AI would create things that are too perfect, but actually that got pretty quickly dispelled because you can now code like flaws into AI as well, so you can make it more humanized. Because that was always my thing. But the reason that music's beautiful because of the errors and the flaws that are in there, and nothing imperfection's beauty, blah blah blah. But you can actually now program that in as well. Yeah. So anyway,
increase imperfection amount by 12%, please.
Actually, there was a Twitter thread I saw. I should have saved it because it was so jokes. But Pepe the Frog, like that cartoon thing. Yeah, someone. Okay, if you saw it, you know what it was.
Yeah.
It's like
Isn't he linked to like right-wing extremism?
I think so. Yeah, it's like a logo for
somehow
like, it's like a meme,
frog
but also
meme
like
is
the
linked to
alt-right
like
also like picked up.
Bruv.
But it's like the green. It's like the green frog with big eyes. The cartoon. You've definitely seen it somewhere.
1,000,000% seen this.
Some guy basically like kept prompting. I don't know if it was Mid-Journey, but he basically did a thread of like he kept prompting AI to make the most unique version of Pepe the Frog ever, and he put all his prompts as tweets, and it was like he just kept saying like more passion, like go weirder, and
more
like
energy.
No,
more
literally,
passion.
it's like that, yeah. But it's like 25 photos of Pepe, and like some of the stuff it was spitting out was just like nuts. It was like so like psychedelic and stuff. It was really fun. I'll try and find it. Yeah, it's so jokes though. Well, I guess to wrap that one up, I guess we're saying like yes, it can be scary. But I think as musicians, we've also got an opportunity to embrace it and help what we're trying to do and push our art a bit further as well. I think is what we're all saying.
I ain't got a clue what I'm saying, mate. I'm too baked.
Well, there's
worst
that
comes
as
to
well.
us, live off grid, innit?
So the other question is a completely different. It's a total switch. And I'm very intrigued to get your answers on this one. But he said, on another topic, are there any D&B tunes that really bring out the feels of you guys, like literal verge of tears, kind of tunes that either take you back to a certain point in your life or ones that really draw emotions out of you?
Many. There's lots, isn't there? Caliber Teed remix.
Yeah.
By Your Side, Spy.
Are you going to say why, or are you just going to name tunes? We want a story,
Your
Jack.
Side,
Oh,
Spy
we
is a
want
good
a
one.
story.
It's a podcast, bro.
Yeah, all right.
Man's just here listing tunes.
I didn't think you'd want me rambling that much, but I mean,
Well, keep it brief. But...
No, they're just beautiful tunes, and I think they're ones that so like Morning Light by New Logic. Yeah, they're just ones where when you try and think of
all liquid tunes as well, by the way.
just every liquid tune.
Saying.
Bring it back.
Yeah, but they're just tunes that I remember where I was and how mad that euphoric rush was when I first heard it in a club somewhere.
Yeah.
And just remember loving every second of it. So it's like Morning Light by New Logic.
Spy remix of Sun Motion Orchestra as well in that category.
Yeah, All Yours.
All Yours.
Absolutely stellar remix.
Mine for me is the it's a bait one, but it's the Caliber remix of London Grammar. Only because
Big tune.
it's obviously an amazing tune.
So good.
But I
So
just
good.
remember being at Sun and Bass 18 or something. Did a 3-hour set on the beach with Dell. Did the whole like what was it called? Alchemy set was it called? Where they do like ambient all the way up to like drum and bass or whatever.
Yeah.
And like it was this incredible set, and basically like that was when the stage was like in front of the mountain, and basically the sun was setting behind the mountain as he played that tune, and it's like the end of a 3-hour like amazing set, and people literally started crying. It was just like that was just like crazy, like a crazy experience. Also also Missing You, that's LSB, isn't it? Missing You, Tyler Daly and Dell.
Also,
that was
so many moments with that.
Well, yeah. Also, one of my family members died when that tune came out, so that was just like a bit of a deep one. So yeah, definitely that one. But yeah, there's loads, man. Probably mostly Caliber tunes, to be fair.
Rich.
It's weird to try and tie them to memories.
Yeah.
For me, because it's just like I don't know. I've just spent my life kind of wasted at raves. It's gonna be nice now when you start banking like them moments.
Yeah.
Now that I'm like way more sober.
But there's definitely the other one I was thinking about was Ivy Lab remix of Anushka. What's the tune called? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Early Ivy Lab tune, like remix.
It was on that Etherwood mixtape, wasn't it?
Yeah, such a peng tune. I remember Tom used to love that tune. It just reminded me of like me and Tom early days going to gigs and stuff and like traveling. Like I attached that tune to that memory for sure. So like, yeah, it could just be anything really.
I had
Mixes do that as well, you know. John, it's
Yeah.
funny. Gera actually guessed. Gera, he sent me like this liquid mix that we like used to listen to, or that he made when we were like, well, I met him in like 2007 or something.
Yeah.
And like honestly, I still think it's like the greatest liquid mix I've ever heard. Harry, you need to put that online.
Yeah,
if
also
you're
like
listening.
the Lensman liquidation mix and Welcome to 2014 mix, I think it was. You remember you see the yearly mix with Dan Steezo?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, a group of my friends from uni, we always used to bang their mixes out. So like, similar, like certain mixes for sure. Like,
Space Age Volume 2.
yeah,
Come on.
yeah.
Nothing. Test
Yeah.
that.
So I don't know if anything will make me cry, but definitely big memories attached to them. Big emotional, like sentiment. It's sentiment, really, isn't it? It's
Yeah. I
sentimentality.
cried last month to a tune.
Yeah.
In the rave.
Was it your own tune?
You and me
It
love a
was,
cry.
but not because it wasn't one. It wasn't because of the tune.
The mix down was terrible.
No, it was.
You
it was.
set yourself up there.
Played the first tune. It was the first tune of the set at the show in Tokyo.
Oh, okay.
And so I just got a little bit overwhelmed
Yeah, I mean, that's
about where I was
yeah,
and
that's
what I
incredible.
was doing, playing a very intimate show to a very, very sort of small crowd. And
Yeah.
it did just kind of sudden rush of emotions, really.
That's
And
kinda
then suddenly you were
beautiful,
like, oh my God, snap out of it. You're
You
in
know
a,
what?
it's a 360 rave, Jack. They're all
Yeah.
around you.
I saw someone else post something very similar like the other day about the fact that they were just on tour and they were playing a set somewhere they couldn't believe they were and they just like started crying mid set.
Yeah.
Oh, it was I won't say it was, but I know who it was now. Yeah. I saw a post. It was a really good post actually from someone we all know as well in drum.
That's
and bass,
beautiful.
yeah.
Walking Blues LSB is actually a good one.
That's a big
and
one.
you just made me
Stunning
realise
tune.
that my album launch actually had a moment like that.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't for similar reasons. It was the fact my godson had taken his own life, like literally the
Yeah.
week before when we were in Leeds, like just before I went on stage, which actually
With-
really fucked me up as well. Actually, like that
Yeah.
was kind of tough hearing that. About a half hour before I had to go on
Yeah.
with you and then Luke, and there was numerous times during that set that
During Luke's.
yeah, because it's
I
like
could've-
there's
yeah.
music playing. It's like I love this music, and it's
Yeah.
like Luke's playing like Beautiful Liquid, and it's like there's certain lyrics, and there's this one lyric that I did at my like album launch that's like basically like working title like mild depression. I did it on that
on
that thing
the-
on our
yeah.
Rinse show the other day. If anyone
Yeah.
hasn't checked that out, go check that out.
Nice plug,
Yeah,
nice
then
plug.
come on. And yeah, like I remember doing that at my album launch, and it was like I dedicated it to him, and it was like a particularly like beautiful moment because
Yeah.
it's like one of my favorite tunes, mixed with a lyric that I wrote about having like mild depression, not really knowing how much he was struggling, and then it's just like I don't know, music's like it's healing for that in a way, but like I love the fact. You know, I'm an emotional guy. I'm like sensitive. I don't really shy away from that, and I think it's kind of beautiful to show that vulnerability in that space. I don't really care.
So here's a
like-
question then, to go back to what we just spoke about. Do you think you could have that same connection with a piece of music
Nope.
written by AI?
Nope. No.
It's an interesting question, though, isn't it? Like, it's an interesting,
How would you know?
how would you know?
What if it's like disguised?
But it's the thing, right? So there's something that I had recommended to me a few weeks ago, and it was the idea of using music sort of as like for therapy reasons,
yeah.
and
It's like art therapy as well, isn't it?
yeah, and there's an album that I've been listening to for quite a long time, and I've listened to it to help me with plane takeoffs and
Nice.
sort of calming myself down. But I've recently started using it just for sort of emotional thought processing, if that makes sense. So just a moment to just kind of put my headphones on, noise cancelling mode on, and put it on and just go, right, I'm just going to think about things and just...
Almost like
if it makes me a bit
meditation.
sad, it makes me a bit
Yeah.
sad. If it makes me a bit angry, it makes me a bit angry. But it is what it is. And then when I'm done, I can kind of be like, right, well, I've kind of expelled some of that emotion, and that was good. And I've thought about some things. But it's John Hopkins' album, Music for Psychedelic Therapy or Psychoactive
Yeah,
Therapy
yeah,
or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But it's just, it's soundscapes. But the thing is, when I first heard it, I wasn't blown away by it. But the reason why I went back was because it was written by a person. And I wanted to understand more about how that person wrote that music and what was going through their head as they wrote it. And that's what drew me back to essentially just an hour-long soundscape, because that is really what the album is. It's just a soundscape.
It's a pad.
It is a glorified pad with
It's a
some
pad for an
beautiful
hour.
sounds in the background.
Nah,
but
ambience light
I
is good
wanted
for
to
that, though,
understand how and why he had written it the way he'd written it. And I feel like if I hadn't known it was written by a human, and I think moving forwards, those kinds of albums, I will be skeptical, and I will want to know, is that a real person that's written that, or is that AI? It will be a question I'll ask myself from time to time moving forward.
So
but I wouldn't go back if it was written by an AI, because there isn't emotion in it, and
Well,
so I
let's go
can't
one
get
level
emotional
You're
to
not
it.
connected.
Let's
with
go
the
one
emotion,
level deeper
basically.
then with the AI. Sorry to labour the point, but I just had another thought. So, obviously with AI, right, all of the stuff it's created at the moment is via human prompts. So, if your prompt is basically a description of your exact mood at the time and the kind of the setting, and it can kind of understand, a bit more context about you, and then it spits out a bit of music to reflect that. Discuss.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
You'd have dropped the mic there if it was
If I could
handheld.
have, I would have dashed it across the room, bruv.
we're already, there's so many things that are just like shortcuts to getting you what AI does. It's not, AI isn't going to write music you've never heard before.
Yeah, of course.
It's going to write stuff that that is comparable to something else in existence. It has to
for
be.
now.
No, but I think I don't.
well, they
Can it genuinely get so
Yes.
good that it can do things that no human has ever thought to do?
Yeah, it can.
Yeah,
that's the point.
shit.
So
it's a
Fuck.
matter of
What
time.
are we on? We're on ChatGPT 4 at the moment, right?
Can we move on to a
So if
different
we
question
get,
then?
Basically, they think that ChatGPT. So apparently, ChatGPT 4's
hang on.
IQ is like 160 something.
That's depressing.
So the next one they think is going to be like 10 times
All
the
right.
smartest humans ever lived.
All right, okay. We
Therefore-
were talking about the emotion in music though. Can we go
Yeah.
back to that? Because then let's not get more depressing with
Now
the
we
AI,
get it.
'cause
You love music, man. We get
Yeah,
it.
all right. I want to just let me
Basically, all
be emotional.
musicians need to go and get their pension sorted ASAP.
Yeah. Go get an office job.
Jesus, we thought COVID was the worst thing that could happen.
Nah, let's be positive.
It's
man.
gonna be a while, but like, yeah, I don't know. Listening to these pods, like they're like how far it's come in such a short amount of time.
It's like
They're
I said, it's
gonna be a
exponential, right?
madness. Yeah.
There's a name, like a theory for it. Like technology is just generally improving, like more than 2x every single time it gets better.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the theory is called, but yeah, it's a thing basically.
Again,
if
it's
you-
like
if you
predict
look
the
at-
future and stuff.
Well, if you look at
moment,
like processing chips, like for example, like Apple's.
Oh, yeah,
every
yeah.
year, it's not 2 times, it's like 4 times every. Like it's like
Exponential growth. Yeah.
Yeah.
CPUs have been doing that for like 60 years or something. I
Exactly.
think. Exponential growth.
yeah. So we're done with the emotions and the AI chat, yeah.
Yeah. Guess
But
so. I'm
actually,
just thinking
no, but
about
Jack,
the
what-
inevitable, like, emotionless wasteland that we're going to
Just-
be living in 5 years' time. So,
No,
just to anybody
finish
that
on
is
the positive.
to anybody that is listening in 5 years' time, make sure that you take your radiation pills and that you go and collect your water before the sun goes down, because
Yeah.
when those creepers come out, like, you're fucked. So
you were
yeah.
angling like you're going to end on some sort of romance. I think.
No, but
you
I
should
think
go
what you
down.
were saying. No,
That's
but
it.
what
It's
Game
done
over,
now.
bro.
Nah, but I will
Fuck,
just
we've
Post-apocalyptic
broken him.
future.
No, I will
That's
bring
coming.
it back. I will bring it back to what Jack was saying with the whole using music to get into a certain headspace, because like even when I'm in the office working, like this morning, I had a really weird musical journey. It was yesterday. Like I started off in the morning just listening to ambient because I needed to be really calm and like creative. And I purposely selected that ambient playlist on Spotify. It really helped me get that task done. I think at one point then I moved to like, it wasn't techno, it was like some like weird house stuff, because I don't know, I was just kind of bashing through a bit more like, I don't know, like kind of administrative tasks. And I don't know, music really can, whatever you need to do, music can serve a purpose for kind of whatever you need to get done or whatever you need to like process in your mind. And I do completely resonate with what you're saying. So like, even the other thing as well, like music in headphones feels like it's really different to listen to music out of speakers or out of a Bluetooth speaker or whatever. I don't know. It feels more, closer.
What do you prefer?
You know what? When I'm stoned, headphones is the best experience. Like when you're a bit stoned, you put like a good pair of headphones on, you listen to music. I swear that you can hear different stuff to when you weren't stoned. Like you can hear different layers and the way that things are composed. Also, you know what's weird actually? Recently, making music, I've really vibed with making music in headphones. I was always a monitors guy, but the last 3 to 4 months, headphones have got me going, man, properly. Like it's weird.
You've been back in like a really good solo drive, innit? Where because between work there was a period where you were like, I'm just getting back in this studio and churning out ideas. So I guess in that regard, like me and Harry, there's too many sessions where we're both together.
This is
and
true.
Headphones are a pain.
Yeah,
in the
this
arse.
is true. Yeah.
But when I am on my own, I much prefer to work in headphones.
Yeah.
Simply because I don't. apart from Harry and other writers, I'm really
protective.
Yeah, I'm really protective of people
Yeah.
hearing things before
That's the
they're
other
done.
thing as well.
And like, I don't want my wife to hear the music like when it sounds shit.
Also, I live next
I
door.
don't want to break that magic.
Yeah, and obviously, yeah, like Pete's
She thinks it sounds amazing all the time, but no,
Pete's
no,
next
it's
door
got to
to me
start
as
shit
well.
somewhere.
And
Oh,
I can't like dunking on Pete a little bit, like so don't let him hear anything. Then just send him a tune like, yeah, we made this.
Look at
So-
this banger.
Yeah, yeah.
He doesn't
so-
have to hear it in its shit stage.
Yeah,
at any
through
point.
the wall.
He just thinks,
Yeah.
he
I
just
can't-
thinks
He'll
you're
probably
just
hate
churning
it
out
by the
bangers.
time he gets his inbox.
Oh, yeah,
All he's been hearing is on loop for the
Exactly.
last
That's
week.
how me and Jack feel about his tunes. Me and as not this Jack, my other housemate. Yeah, we hear Pete all the time. Same loop every single day. He won't be saying it. He knows it's true. But yeah, there is this weird. There is a protective element when it's in headphones. It feels like it's just you. Well, it is just you that can hear it. Therefore, it's like just you and your own thoughts and process or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe if I had like a studio just out in the middle of the wilderness or just somewhere where no one else could hear it, maybe that'd be different. But yeah, I don't know. I think for listening, also I think I just consume music through headphones. Like when I'm traveling around London, it's AirPods in, or if I'm in the office, I've got my whatever Sony's on or whatever. So I feel like most of the time, although when I'm in the morning during my morning process, I like waking up, showering,
just on
whatever.
the speaker in the kitchen.
On
or
the
the
speaker
bathroom.
cooking, that's nice though because
Yeah.
you're doing something else and it's a bit more like yeah. It just depends, context driven, really.
But what I'm listening to changes based on on what I'm listening it on. So
Yeah.
if it's on a speaker, changes what I'm playing,
1,000,000%.
and if it's in headphones, it changes what I'm playing.
How about you, Rich?
I was going to say one thing I relate to is like as a lyricist who likes to write in their own space. The whole thing of like someone not hearing something before it's finished. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like that's a trap I've been in my entire life.
Right.
I'm not. I need to learn to work collaboratively and have more confidence with that because actually what I kind of like to do is get a tune, go into my own weird little space and do it. So it's interesting to hear you talk about like that, doing that on headphones. So I feel like there's a parallel there.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
like, I totally get that, and I'm really actually going to make a conscious effort in the next year to take myself out of that and be like, I'm going to start doing loads of studio days
Well,
because
we
I want to
spoke about this,
capture
didn't we?
a vibe.
Yeah, we spoke about this, like, because
Yeah.
one thing those writing sessions, the writing camps have done, because again, with vocalists, me and Tom only ever worked with, we'll write a tune, send it to the vocalist, they send it back.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you mostly worked, right?
Mostly, yeah.
Since the writing camps, I've really seen the benefit of, and you guys are really good at doing this, you always get people in the studio and session with them.
Yeah.
And that, really, the writing camps was my kind of like gateway to that. And like, yeah, some of the stuff that you can create, it's horses for courses again, but like, yeah, some stuff you can create in the moment with people in the room, going back to your human connection thing.
Yeah.
Like if all three of you, or all four of you, or five of you, or whatever, are feeling an idea, and it's kind of, I don't know, things just happen, kind of.
Yeah.
I
Of
think
their own volition.
it's a level of like anxiety for me.
100%.
And it's like because I probably take a bit longer. Like I'm not the most naturally gifted rapper. Like I've always said that.
Yeah.
I have to work hard for my bars, and I always I'm trying to overcomplicate and then overcomplicate.
It's like going on a first date, mate, though, isn't it? Like, you kind of got to get used to each other's vibe, right?
100.
It is like dating in a weird way. Like,
I think also I'm going to be switching my approach moving forward a bit, and just like there's a couple of things I've done recently that I'm just not trying to be the most clever rapper.
yeah,
in
less
the world.
wanky bars. Yeah,
Well, it's not that. It's just like trying to be like.
He had to catch a stray as well, man. I gave you one. I had to give Rich one.
Absolutely firing them off.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely less wanky bars, but like maybe like trying to like not like overcomplicating it so much because I'm like, I'm realistically writing hip hop. Like I want to be like, yeah, try and work this out. And then the problem is no one can work it out and it doesn't land.
Yeah,
So it's like,
yeah.
in D&B, I don't think it's the medium to do that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start actually writing more hip hop and doing what I love doing lyrically on
Through
that,
that.
and then maybe having a bit more fun on D&B.
Because
I
as
think
well-
I'm finally giving up, basically.
Well,
I'm
no, it's
trying
not
to hammer
giving
my
up.
message home.
It's not giving up. We spoke about literally on the drive back from the last podcast. We spoke
Yeah.
about this, and I just think in D&B, especially, and then obviously the tempo of the music and kind of how much is going on. Yeah, you're right. Like if you've got loads of intricate little bars, and most of them are gonna go amiss.
Yeah.
But you've got punchlines. So what you need to do basically is just distill that down just to the punchlines, essentially. Like
I'm gonna
yeah.
do it in my own way,
Yeah.
keeping my integrity and making sure it's still complex
still
enough
integrity.
that I'm not like, there's a lot of stuff out there like, no disrespect to people doing it, but it's like I listen to it and I'm like, this is so basic, and I could never be that guy. Like it's just not. I kind of started rapping because I wanted to tell a story, connect with emotion, and fundamentally like be sort of deep and like multiple meaning and like vague, and get involved in all the sort of things that I loved about hip hop that made it so complex. Really, like I want it to be complex, and I guess drum and bass particularly at the moment, from a lyrical perspective, I don't really think it's in that place. I think it's like the more you simplify something, the more it bangs in a rave.
Yeah.
So I'm going to find my middle ground somewhere by being my little techie, righty self, but maybe, you know, slowing it down a bit more and just, you know, I've already done a couple of bits that I'm like, this is sick, because it's like, it's got a bit more of a vibe to it. It's less like trying to hammer that like message home, or like overcomplicated like syllables and wordplay. It's just like
simplified flow,
basically a little bit more.
This is essentially what's happened with our music writing as well.
Yeah,
I feel like as a musician or as an artist, you get better at getting your point or your idea across creatively with less.
Yeah,
and I agree. And that kind of resonates across writing, across like visual art, across like music. For me, that's like the growth aspect of being an artist. It's like you can basically get to the point, in inverted commas, a bit quicker. And yeah, obviously sometimes the beauty is in the ramble and the journey. And I think that's where albums and album formats are really nice. But like in a singular project, maybe, yeah, you can just kind of, it's distilling it, isn't it? It's distilling what you're about down to like the essence.
It's kind of finding what works where. It's like, you know, that 11-minute freestyle thing that I've written will do something at some point, and there's a place for that, because it's like, who fucking wants it, basically. Yeah. But I've been sitting on it for like, 3 years now, because it's like I'm waiting for like the right
platform,
medium and platform to deliver it on. And then when I do, I'll be like, yeah, like, you know, it's kind of like a gunman thing, being like, this is what rap's about. It's like trying to showcase how good you are actually at rapping. Like, and I think in D&B, I guess that's not really kind of the point. And I kind of, it's taken me a long time to sort of, you know, even get to this point. And I'm not saying that I'm there in a live environment, because I'm not going to stop spitting bars. I will still do what I came to do, because, you know, that's why I got involved in drum and bass. And I think it's good to be unique and maybe MC more than other people, because the art form needs it. And even if it's against the grain of the general way the industry's going at the moment, I kind of don't really care, because I feel like you've got to be true to yourself, and, you know, representing something unique and a little bit different isn't necessarily a bad thing.
But like you said, and I think this is the key, different horses for, I've said this phrase so many times, but like, so different projects can represent different things. So like for me personally, obviously me and Tom are in a duo that do GLXY, but if I feel like doing something else, I'll just do it on my own, and it kind of has a different purpose. That makes sense. And I think you can probably do that with what you're doing as well, with the Visionobi project.
You've got to adapt to a certain extent as well. And then, like you said, just different mediums. Like, okay, this works with this works with this, and then at least you're spreading yourself across.
And then also you're still satisfying your kind of artistic drive, but then also maybe you're progressing more in different ways. But
getting booked.
Getting bookings, all that good stuff. Basically, Alex Parker had a great idea of doing some Would You Rathers.
Oh yeah,
and we got in that group. You know, shout out that group chat. They put a few in.
Quick fire.
Yes, but we'll do one more. We'll do one more topic. I've picked out the Concrete Junglist crew.
Jack's already looking at this like, bloody hell, guys.
No, not at all.
It's a long edit.
Yeah, no. I learned how to put the markers in. So the end of every question, I'm just
nice.
Come on, adapting. There we go.
So we've got one more. And apologies to those who we didn't get to, but there's going to be more episodes, so there's going to be more questions.
I think we'll just get a little like doc on the go in it and just write them all down.
So Concrete Junglist, shout out those guys. Send us some free clothes. Thank you very much. So they asked, in the UK, it's the start of the club season. What's your favourite transition? Festival to club or club to festival? This is a good question. I actually thought about this earlier.
Festival to club.
Well, I'm finished yet, mate. Let me read it out.
You just read the question.
Let me read it out.
That was part one.
Yeah. How is your preparation different for the contrasting stages? Ooh. Is the gold stage of D&B being able to chase the sun around the globe with like the NZ Australia tours, etc.? So yeah, what do people prefer? Going into festival season, coming out of festival season, how do you prepare differently for each one? And is it just about chasing festivals around the world if you can do that? Let's take it in turn.
Okay.
A bit of structure. You go first.
You want to go first?
You go first.
I never go first.
You go first.
Yeah, so I would actually say I couldn't really answer that, because one thing I love about living in England, like there's not many things at the moment, but it's like change of seasons. And I think I actually get to a point where I look forward to autumn and winter, and I look forward to summer. And it's like, I love festival season because I know I'm going to catch up with loads of people and have like a, you know, really good time playing at like loads of like really cool festivals. And then I also love the fact that it's like, okay, we're going back to the underground now. I'm going to like play in some dingy clubs. I prefer playing in clubs from an MC perspective, because I think you can leng more bars, and as everyone knows, that's what I'm about. So I guess I prefer playing in clubs, but I look forward to both equally because it's the transition and change that I fundamentally enjoy. And with regards to preparing for each accordingly, I guess for an MC, there's definitely a lot less prep. You just know that you're going to turn up to a festival and probably do more hosting. And in the clubs, I'll probably I guess I will be writing more bars during like autumn, ready for like deep winter, like actual like club bars. I guess there's a lot of tune writing these days because, you know, most MCs are like actually like releasing music. That's kind of a different dynamic. I still love writing bars for clubs and mixes, and I will continue to do that because that's my bread and butter, and I think that's what I'm best at.
Yeah, good answer.
Shacky boy.
Jackery.
I prefer the transition of festival into club. I really like playing festivals, but I think simply for what you said, it's the catching up with other people on the lineups and seeing people backstage. And I think it's also seeing the larger crowds. It's knowing that a large chunk of people in front of you that you're performing to probably have never seen you DJ before and might not even know any of your music. And so actually there's kind of that fun aspect and that challenging aspect of, there's an opportunity to show off our music and kind of potentially get some new fans and kind of get some new people to kind of join our journey. But beyond that, I think that's kind of the only thing I like about festivals. I'm not a fan of the scale of the sort of stages and things like that. I don't like being 30 feet away from the nearest person.
It's
I like to be able to kind of
yeah.
see and vibe with those people. And I think when you're in a booth in a club and someone can, in theory, you can spud someone. You can literally touch the punters at the front row.
The flip of that though, boat party. Then you got like a
Yeah,
boat
But that's
party.
a club on the water. It's
There's a club on the water. There's a club on the water.
But that happens in festival season, doesn't it? So it's like,
of course.
I mean,
it varies.
But then in club season in the UK, we'll get 30 club shows in that season. But then in the festival season, I'll get 1 or 2 boat parties.
Valid. I'm more on the club vibe for sure. I just play devil's advocate.
But I like the clubs. But there are a couple of in regards to like the people that you get to bump into, like the club circuit. Christ, that can be lonely.
Yeah,
and can be quite tiring as well.
I think for me, I agree with what you both said. And I can probably just summarize it as festival season is way more adventurous. As in, we get to go to beautiful places in the world and basically almost like have a holiday as well. Like sun and base, hospitality on the beach. Like that's sick. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, the actual performance side of it isn't actually as enjoyable as playing in a club for the reasons you just said. And like, especially and it doesn't get to happen very often, but when we're on a really big stage, like I don't necessarily enjoy that experience all that much. I enjoy it. Like it's sick to see like 5,000 people go mental to a track. But the nerves that come with it before you're on stage and the fear of clanging or the fear of like technicals or whatever just gets amplified way more in front of that many people. And that's because I probably don't play that many. I think if I did it all the time, well, no, it'd be interesting actually. I know you performed with Wilkinson, for example, like for years. Did it get easier over time, or was it still like?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, okay.
Like, honestly, I was an awful host MC before I worked with Mark. I was like an MC who just looked at the floor, eyes closed.
Yeah, as in like confidence and stuff. Yeah,
literally,
fair.
that was it.
Yeah, so like, but yeah, you can't beat. I'm not going to say Phonox again because we talk about it all the time, but like, you can't beat that experience from a DJ perspective.
Use Fabric. You said Fabric was sick.
Yeah, Fabric Room 2 was. Yeah, you just can't beat those experiences, in my opinion. It's because it's the atmosphere. I guess that's the thing. When you're in a building, when you're in a building as well, the atmosphere's like contained within the building. I think that's the other thing as well, right? So yeah, I prefer going into club season, and also I feel like tunes, for me at least, are new tunes. Like when we've written a new tune that's not come out yet, it resonates better in a club than it does at a festival. Because people are there to see us play rather than like a festival crowd. Yeah.
There's a reason this music was born in clubs.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think we're all kind of in agreement there. Cool.
And in regards to chasing festivals around the world.
Yeah.
as much as that sounds like it would be great to do, I've never had the chance.
Yeah.
Harry's going at some point in the early new year, I think,
To New Zealand, yeah.
New Zealand
But you've
and
never done New
Australia.
Zealand? No, you have done New
No,
Zealand.
I have, but
Yeah.
not the idea of like the moment festival season ends, it's then you go over and do the festivals over there. I've not played festivals over there before.
Oh, okay.
Whereas I think that's
Yeah.
what Harry's going to be doing.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So he'll
again.
kind of get that like wild experience.
hang on.
But
That reminds me.
what? Here we go again. What? What?
No,
What have I said?
No,
It's
New
just New Zealand, did it?
Oh fucking hell!
Javen.
Jesus Christ!
Javen did actually reply to the story and said, the story obviously being we're recording tonight, send us your topics. And James just replied, UK MC is going to New Zealand. I want Rich leading on this one.
Oh my G! I'll take Javon.
That
Man.
one
What a
killed
G.
me. That one killed me,
That
man.
was so good.
Cool. I think we should do the Would You Rathers. Fun little way to end.
Yeah, go on then.
So shout out Alex Particle on this suggestion. So he started off with, would you rather never make music again or never play music again?
Actually, easy.
Genuine
for me.
exhales there from you two. Like, that's a tough one.
No. I think that's easier for me to answer.
Yeah.
I'd just never make music again and go back to being a MC.
Really?
Just
I thought you were
lenging
going to
bars
say
in
the
a
other way
club.
around.
Nah,
Wow,
no way,
okay.
man. I
Interesting.
came to leng bars, man. I'm old school MC. I just want to
Fair.
leng bars in a club. As long as I can leng bars,
Jack,
I'm
so
happy.
for obviously audio listeners, we haven't got visual. Jack has literally got his head in his hands right now.
Particles killed this. I rate it.
For me, it's making music.
What? Hold on.
As in, I'd never play music again.
You'd never play music again. You just
Yeah,
make
yeah.
music.
Playing, surely that means listening to.
No, sorry. As in,
So just
No,
DJing
no,
or producing.
Yeah, DJing for
that's
us.
still really hard.
So for me, I'd never DJ again. I've been playing music, instruments, producing since I was 6 years old. Like that's the thing.
Yeah,
that
I think
grew
you'd
up.
have to.
You know what I mean?
Okay,
That's
I'd
the
have
thing
to
for
agree.
me.
I'd have to agree.
Yeah. So as much as I love DJing,
I think it's different from a producer perspective.
Yeah, so it's
because I
from-
can still just write bars and get you can still write bars, right?
yeah,
Actually,
you'd have to write bars in order to.
That's kind of making music, though.
Do you know
isn't it?
what?
So
I
it's
guess
a bit of a.
the thing that I would not want to give up is sharing music with other people. But if you're still creating music, you can still share your music with other people.
Yeah. So
I just love
let me-
hearing other people's music and being like, I still want to spread that to
No,
other people.
no,
I
so
really
yeah,
want
that's
to
what
Can you
can't
get
do.
someone else
Hang
in like a marshmallow head mask to go and play your music for you?
Yeah, other DJs can play your music still.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you
yeah.
just can't DJ.
Yeah.
You just have to
But
go
you
on
can
tour
release-
with someone
I would-
else.
I would
But you
give
can
up
still
DJing
release on Spotify and everything like that.
I would give up DJing then.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So
That's a
your
good question.
Your
that.
performance, your producing. I'm
Yeah, because
producing.
I also DJing. I was like, I can't imagine giving up DJing. I
Yeah.
fucking love DJing.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't produce, so it's easier for me, I guess.
I can't read some of these. Particle asked, would you rather this is a good one. Would you rather never be able to use a snare again or never be able to use a kick drum again?
Never use a snare.
I thought that.
Yeah. Never use a snare.
But then also, if you're just using kicks, it's just techno, isn't it?
What would you have to do? Like a clap?
No, there's things
Clap
you can
instead
do.
of a
So
snare.
no snare replacement. Just no.
No snare replacement.
Nothing on the two, basically.
There's
You're basically making techno.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
No, not at all, man. There's a fucking, pardon my French. There's a metric tune from his first album that's like proper euphoric.
So one tune you can think of.
No, but there's other tunes I can think of.
Yeah,
Like
the
there were
30.
That's kind of a mad
there were-
question.
there's another tune by.
But you have to pick. Would you rather?
I ain't making tunes.
Yeah, you don't make tunes. Jack, just pick one. Kick
Yeah,
or
I
snare.
told you already.
Kicks.
I'd sack off the snares.
It's meant to be quick fire. Man.
What are you snacking
It was quick.
What are you snacking off?
It also had to be snare. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's rushing me for like more context. It needs to be quick.
You heckle him about his answer
I know.
and give the same answer.
What a
Yeah.
shit.
Wow.
Would you rather have? This is Oscar Sustenance. Would you rather have 2 releases a year on vinyl or 4 on digital? Another good question.
That is a good question. Obviously, the vinyl one's gone digital as well, yeah?
Yeah.
They go on both mediums. He just means
Yeah.
have more releases
Digi
just
only.
digitally or vinyl.
2 vinyls.
It's a
Two
tricky
vinyl.
one because it's like if you're doing an album, obviously you're going to want it on vinyl. But if you're doing EPs, like, does it matter so much? Probably not. But that's not the question, is it?
It's not the question. Just answer the question. Boys, it's a really simple game.
2 vinyl.
2 vinyl, yeah.
2
Yeah.
vinyl and digital, yeah.
I would say 2 vinyl as well.
Yeah.
This is a great one. Would you rather? And also, I don't have this person's number saved in the group. James, who is this? Might be. It's Yano, I think. It's Yano. Yeah, it's Yano.
Sick.
So would you rather delete the amen break from existence or the think break? No, but let me finish. It's good. Like, it gets juicy. So would you rather delete the amen break from existence or the think break from existence as if they never existed at all and all the songs that were in it were no longer existing?
I think
There's only one answer for this podcast.
and it's got to be the think. I think it has to be the think break.
Otherwise, our podcast doesn't exist.
Amen
We
break.
called it the Think About It podcast, which actually arguably is a better name.
Shit, we should have thought about that.
Lynn Collins, like literally that could be a better name. Think About It podcast. Wow, we really dropped the ball.
Wow.
Yeah,
There you go. That's all
I
the
would
answer.
say
We're
get rid. I
we're
would say
rebranding,
get,
man.
I
We're
would say
rebranding.
get rid of the think break.
Yeah, the thing is, I
Amen
thought
broke
that.
through into so much more than just drum and bass.
Well, yeah,
man.
hip-hop as
Like,
well.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
then also, so did the
just
think-
like electronic music in the
So
80s
did
as
the
well,
think
and
break
pop
as well,
music.
though.
Like
So did the think break.
nowhere near as much. I swear the Amen is the most sampled piece of music in history.
Probably is, yeah. What would your answer be?
I already gave my answer.
Amen break. Think break deleted.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, more tunes that I like now
Have the think break.
break.
Yeah, of course,
The
yeah.
Amen break. Yeah.
Oh, there's no denying. I think the think
You're
break
saying
is
goodbye
a
to
better
jungle.
break.
No, because jungle, someone would have invented jungle just without the amen break, though.
Yeah, but
It's a
like,
drum break at the end of the day. Someone else would have just made it with a different drum break.
that's not the question, John.
see, no,
you can't start
no.
using your own rules
But
here, mate.
but that is a question though. If the amen break never existed, would it have worked with just any other old drum break?
Nah, it's something about, to get probably like, it is something about the way, I can't remember what his name was.
The splashiness.
It's
of it
something about the
all
way he
and-
played it with the splash and the way that translated when you sped it up. Like, there's nothing that quite does that
Yeah.
in drum breaks.
Yeah, it's
Come
a
on,
special
easy
one,
one.
mate.
All
It's,
right, I'm going to
that.
give an answer. Here's the thing. You're right. Is it? I think the thing makes a better break.
Struggling.
you just
but
shouldn't
the
think
aim-
about it too much.
Yeah, I can't believe we didn't call the podcast.
You look
Think
really,
About
you
It
look
podcast.
as stressed as Jack did on that one. A few
Honestly,
questions
we
ago.
proper dropped the ball there. So yeah, sorry, I've lost the chat now. There's a couple of others.
Crep check.
Oh yeah, crep check. I'm going first.
They're nice.
I've got the Aim Leon Dor New Balance collab 550s on, brown ones.
I like the way that I've actually got a nice pair on.
Yeah, I know. That's why I
Is that
said
what
it.
you asked?
Yeah, I just looked down.
I've got a pair of Air Max ones that I designed myself when they were doing. It was a Nike by You, not
Yeah,
Nike
yeah.
ID, and they basically you got to pick from a number of different colours and their little black and gold selection. So
They are
technically-
fresh.
They got a little V on the back of them as well because I'm cringe.
One of one.
Yeah.
One of one. Yeah.
And I've just got my all white leather Nike SB Dunks on.
Nice.
Nice.
Staple of any wardrobe.
One more really good. Actually, I think I know the answer to this one already, but
I also
We'll
want to
do
do
it.
what we've been listening to this week, if that's all right with everybody.
yeah,
as
I
well.
haven't
let's
prepped
just
that.
quickly run this one more.
Go
so
on, let's do one more.
Ollie Dumas,
Yep.
play a crowd of 2,000 people who don't know you or care, or 50 of your biggest fans / heads.
50 of my biggest fans. That's
an easy
That's
one.
an
isn't it?
easy one. Come on.
That is an easy
I
one.
probably haven't got 50, but I'd still take
Yeah,
however many of them.
shut up, mate.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that was the last one. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's quickly do a what we're listening to. Who wants to go first? I need to get everyone's getting
Okay,
a
I'm
Spotify
getting
out.
Spotify.
I just got to remind myself.
I've been put onto a lot of good music recently by a lot of people. So
you know,
I'll say that
my-
first.
my
Oh, Cleo Soul's new album.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Great.
She's unbelievable, man. Like,
Listen to that on my flight home from
Sunday. So did I. I was like, time to cry.
Yeah.
Let's get it. Literally, I was like, I'm going to save it for the plane, have a little cry on the plane after a week of partying.
So fucking good.
She's unbelievable, man. She really is unbelievable. So that's been nice. Who else released an album as well? James Blake released an album. Have you listened to it yet?
No.
No,
Kind of went under the
actually.
radar. You know what? I've loved James Blake since Day Dot, but I didn't love this album. But I've only listened to it once, and I feel like maybe it's one of those ones you have to listen to a few times.
Rich?
My missus introduced me to FKJ recently.
Yeah, French kiwi juice.
Yeah, I wasn't
Sick.
actually aware at all. Yeah, I know. Where have I been? Probably.
No,
Have
I've
you
never
heard
heard of
me?
this person. French
Oh,
kiwi
right.
juice. I'm going to go home
Keys
and
player,
listen.
isn't he?
Is
Does
that,
like
is that
keys.
is that what it?
Pretty sure that's what it
for?
stands for. Yeah.
Yeah, she's into like loads of like real like cool like spiritual music as well, like that kind of vibe. But
Yeah.
she was like, "Oh, you'll really like this," because I was talking about starting to write like some more like hip hop and instrumental hip hop and doing more hip hop stuff. And
Do you want to say hip hop one more time?
yeah, I it's a fantastic word, isn't it? But yeah,
Yeah.
She put me on to him. We were listening to it on the way up to Manchester the
Yeah,
other
I'm pretty
week.
sure.
Bangers.
Either his Instagram was French Kiwi Juice and doesn't actually stand for
Is
that.
yeah.
Or I think it is French Kiwi Juice.
I don't know what it is, but yeah, FKJ.
Yeah,
Checking it
sick.
out. Sick.
I've been listening to last week. I was listening to.
Yeah, it's professionally known as French Kiwi Juice. Sorry, yeah, that is his name. Sorry.
I haven't finished.
Sorry.
Last week I was listening to De La Soul Balloon Mind State. 30-year anniversary.
Mad.
And shamefully, I think I've only listened to one or two tunes off that album ever. And I was like, oh, I should probably give that a listen, and really enjoyed it. And so it was kind of like a everyday last week. Gave it a little spin. And then yesterday, I was in the off license, and I was in Tesco's, and somebody behind me was chatting to a friend. I told you boys about this earlier on, but they were chatting to their mate saying, oh, so-and-so's released his album last week, or my mate so-and-so has released his album, and then mentioned him by artist. So I quickly just jotted it down on my phone and found his album. It's really, really good, by an artist called Dial E.
Yeah, you played it earlier. It sounded cool.
Yeah, East London-based rapper, and it's kind of like K-Tronada style, instrumentals, nice flow, but also like some kind of classic hip-hop stuff on there as well. But yeah, really enjoyed it.
I also got put onto an artist. Shout out Daisy for this one. Mexican OT. You'll hate it. Rich, you'll hate it. It's like...
Why?
It's just like a trap rapper, but he's Mexican.
yeah,
but like
already hate
the way he raps, though... So I was having this conversation. Like, the reason I kind of... Certain artists in that genre of like kind of trap, I guess it is, in like American like hip-hop trap. The reason they're good, because the bars are pretty generic, the beats are very generic, but what makes it good is that the character they put into their voice, I think that's what makes it interesting. And so like when it's not that, like when it's not a standout rapper in terms of how they sound, it's really boring. But when they've got something about them, this Mexican OT guy, man, like his flow is actually nuts.
Sounds dry.
And he rolls his R's, and the way he rolls his R's, it's just crazy, man. He just
The way he what?
I'm gonna play some of his tunes in the car, man.
You said the way he rolls
his R's. He's Mexican, so he's Spanish.
Okay.
But the way he does
Okay.
it with the flow is like really impressive. So yeah, Mexican OT.
But shit content, yeah.
Yeah, but like it's just not like you just said, Rich. You're gonna
listen back to the way you described that. And
Yeah.
It's just like it's very underwhelming.
Nah,
you've
it's
changed,
just-
Sean.
You just don't
You've
get it,
changed.
man. You don't get it. It's fine. It's not for everyone, man. You're not. It's a quiet taste. But yeah, Mexican OT. Shout him out. I'm sure he listens to this podcast. So yeah, I guess that's been quite fun actually. I really enjoyed discussing stuff from
question
you
time.
guys. It also makes it easier for us because we haven't got to think of stuff to talk about.
Yeah,
Or
we just had to turn up and chat.
Well, I mean, I had to take some screenshots of Instagram, send it to you guys. I did that, didn't I? So,
Oh, here he
well
is.
done, mate.
It does mean that you can moan at us less for not coming up with subjects
This
when
is true.
other people
So
do
I'll
it
just,
for
I'll
us.
just go home
hopefully.
and spend like 4 hours on the edit as well.
Oh, he does. He does.
I
Like,
was thinking that when he said that earlier. I'll just do all the work then.
that was aimed at you.
To be fair, I knew that was aimed at me.
He's got a child.
I was thinking like, yeah.
He also drives us here and back most weeks. So.
Yeah, but we're not doing this on air.
Domestics.
Domestics on air.
Trouble in the ranks.
Now, so what I was going to say was, Jack, you're going to America.
I am. I thought you were about to have a go at me for something. There.
No,
I was like,
no.
what?
Yeah, stop having such a successful career, mate.
Yeah,
Stop
yeah,
having
at all.
fun.
It's making the rest of us look shit.
But we are going to try and get a guest on for the next one. Just, to go back to a bit of the original format. But I think we'll still do this whole send stuff in to talk about, because it is just really interesting to think about new things that we've not thought about, maybe.
And also, if you're going to send in any questions, if there's any suggestions for guests you've got, send them in to us. But also, feel free to just message them and say, hey, you should do something with the Amen Brother podcast.
Basically, we're just outsourcing all of our work to you guys.
lot.
Yeah, give us a little share on all your socials as well.
yeah.
Yeah, please.
I mean, basically, if you lot want more episodes more regularly,
Work hard for it.
Yeah, exactly. Work
Earn
for
it.
it. Like, you ain't get nothing in this world is free, man.
Yeah.
Don't take the piss.
But
apart from this podcast, currently.
We love you. Thank you.
But we have got a list of artists we're going to get on. And not just... Oh, someone actually did send in a point as well about getting non-artists on.
I'd
see
be
what
really
I
keen
did.
to do that.
Label owners, promoters, that sort of stuff. So I think, we're down for that as well. So lots more coming, basically. I feel like we might be back.
Oh, let's not speak too soon.
The Think About It podcast is back. Cool. All right. Bye.
Peace.
Safe.